Have you ever wondered to yourself, the 6x7 format is too small. I just need 1 extra centimeter. Or perhaps the Mamiya RB67 is just way too light. Well, have I got a camera system for you. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Alex Laux, and today I have a camera that you probably haven't heard much about, and one that I haven't used in a long time, and that's the Fujifilm GX680iii. It was actually the 7th camera I ever reviewed back when I first started writing my camera reviews. And it's now come back to me to allow me to do a video review and to update my original one. And if you haven't read the new updated review, you can find that in the description below. Both then and now, the camera came to me from my good friend James Lee, who I usually get a lot of my premium kit to review from. And the camera is certainly an interesting addition to the Fujifilm Medium Format lineups. Amongst all the portable cameras that they ever produced, they decided to produce a studio camera. And this camera, despite being portable, is far from it. So let's dig into a little bit of the history of the camera. Well, I won't go into a deep dive about Fujifilm's history with the medium format. For that, you can check out my review of the GA645ziii. It'll be linked above. The short version is that medium format provided an entry into the tourist industry for Fujifilm. The need for portable cameras to produce high quality negatives for print media for the Japanese Tourist Bureau. But the GX680 series is different because, as I mentioned before, it's far from portable. And it's really aimed at the studio and product photography market. The original camera, the GX680, was first released in 1987. It provided a large 6x8 negative, a rotating back, and more importantly, it allowed the photographer to use front standard movements. Rise, fall, tilt, shifts. These were completely electronic cameras. The lenses, permanently mounted onto boards, could be mounted or dismounted from the front standard. You could use multiple types of interchangeable backs to get more than just the 6x8 negative using 120 film. You could get 220 backs. You could even get Polaroid Type 100 backs for the camera. And you could also equip it with a semi-automatic aperture priority metering prism. The film was loaded into film backs, which were themselves hot swappable. So you could shoot a test shot on a Polaroid, or in this case Fuji FP100C, and then shoot the final product on whatever film stock you wanted. The GX680 came out in 1995. The problem is it looked almost identical to the original GX680, and in fact it's difficult to tell just from looking which is which. The major difference is that the GI682 introduced the auto mask feature, which means the waist level finder, well, the finder screen itself, will automatically mask itself to whatever format frame you're shooting. And that can be anything. You could use a 6x8 in either landscape or portrait. You could even shoot 6x6 and even 6x7 if you wanted to. It also redesigned the front locking standard, so really only minor changes. The third and final version of the camera came out in 1997, the GX680iii, and it was the one that marked a major change. Probably the biggest change was the format and materials used to build the main camera body. This resulted in a far lighter camera than the earlier two models. You also had a change out of the batteries. The original two used nickel cadmium rechargeables. The new one used a trio of CR123As and a pair of CR2s in the film magazine. You could also attach a secondary battery pack that used AA batteries. Another fantastic feature of the GX680 was the ability for the newest film backs to actually imprint the exposure data onto the film rebate. Sadly, by this point, digital cameras were becoming very common, and especially in regards to product and studio work. But the GX680 held on, with production only ceasing in 2010. But enough talk about the history. You probably want to see what the beast looks like. So let's go over and take a closer look. And here it is. This is the beast, the Fujifilm GX680iii. Unlike previous cameras, this one isn't as easy to show off all in one go. So let's start here with the front. Right on the front, you have your lens. And in this case today, I have the Fujinon 80mm 5.6. This is a nice wide angle lens because I'm going to be shooting some landscape work either. The lenses are interchangeable. Up at the top, you have your hot shoe, and this is the release lock. Release it here, flip this up, this comes off. As you can see, electronic contacts on the inside. Mounting the lenses is a bit more difficult. You really have to make sure that it latches on or it actually won't interface. And thankfully, the camera will tell you. Additionally, on the side, you have all the locking mechanisms for the standard movement. On the side, you have your aperture control. And most of these lenses stop all the way down to f/45, so very much like a 4x5. And here on the side, you have your focusing, and you got your bellows here. Next up, we have our central control panel, and thankfully, all the controls are really focused right here on the one side. You have your shutter speed, and you got speeds from 8 seconds all the way up to 1/400th of a second, including bulb. And the A is for when you have the auto exposure prism. This will lock it into aperture priority mode. You have your main control panel, your main power switch here. You got off, single, continuous, or multi-exposure. And this here is your shutter release. You also have the ability to lock the meter up, and you have a proprietary remote control plug right here. Unfortunately, there is no standard mechanical release, but there is a PC socket. So if you are using off-camera flashes, you can link it directly, or you have that hot shoe at the top to mount your wireless transmitter. Right here up at the top, let me just tilt this over here, you have your main information panel. This actually will help you determine if there are any error messages and your current battery life. On the other side of the main body, you have your battery holder, and this is where you can put the 6 AA batteries that can help power the camera, and it has a dedicated on-off switch, so you can make sure this is off so that you can preserve some battery power. This is a second strap mounting lug, not that you want to, and even up at the top you have a nice spirit level. This particular version comes with a waist level finder, massive, and thankfully it does have a bright screen in it, so it does make it super easy to use out in the field, a magnifier to help with fine focus. And I love using a waist level finder on a tripod. It's a little bit more difficult, but you know what? For what it is, it makes it work. And finally, we have the film back. Now, this is removable. We do have a dark slide here, which allows for hot swapping. To open up the back, you simply pop it, and you have your standard film insert. Now, the nice thing is that you don't have to really adjust this. It will automatically wind it. So you don't even have to take the back off to get it to work. And you can rotate it. There's a small button under here, and you just rotate it like this, and that removes it. and then you kind of lined it up. And then you turn it the other way and it rotates. On the top, you have an LCD screen and a control dial. And then under this little thing here, you have the ability to set all your information, including date, data, and the film speed loaded. Call me crazy, because I am. This is not the best choice of cameras for working out in the field. It's heavy, bulky, and awkward to carry around. And even if you eliminate the tripod and use a neck strap, shooting the camera handheld seems like a recipe for disaster. That said, once it's steadied, you're in for a real treat. The viewfinder is big and bright, and those mask lines certainly help with composition, especially when you're shooting in the portrait orientation. Focusing is smooth, and while there's a lack of split prism, it does have a magnifier to help get that focus nailed. All the controls are right at your fingertips with big rubberized knobs and solid clicks to know you've landed. There's no need to advance your film or recock that shutter. Everything's done automatically. And the LCD screen on the film magazine will show you where your problems are, if you've forgotten to pull the dark slide or didn't mount the lens correctly, for example. And it will even beep for you once you're on your last frame. Despite being heavy and bulky, the one thing that is really easy on the GX680iii is actually loading film, because you can do it right here from your film back. You just pop it off and you have your standard cassette inside. And on the top, it actually tells you exactly what you need to do. Then once you have the film cassette loaded in the back, you flip open your top panel and you press this top button here. That says Set First Frame. If there's one thing you don't have to worry about on the GX680 series, it's optical quality. I've worked with Fujifilm glass on their cameras from 35mm up to their large format lenses, and the lenses you get with the GX680 are on the exact same level of quality. Each lens is mounted to a special board with full electronic contacts, and the shutters are built into the lenses themselves. Fuji produced 16 prime lenses and surprisingly 1 zoom lens for the GX system. And all these lenses are interchangeable with each version of the camera. Focal distances range from 50mm to 500mm, or the equivalent of 23 to 229mm on your 35mm cameras. Most of these lenses support the full movement of the front standard, save for that wide-angle 50. The most common lens found on the camera is the 135mm f5.6, but some good choices would be the 80, 125, 180, and there was even a special 190mm lens that offered up a unique aperture for soft bokeh. The GX680 is not a camera for the faint of heart. It feels much more at home in the studio than it does out in the field. If you're into hiking and want to get that nice big negative, go with the Fuji 690, the Texas Leica. But if you want a unique addition to any studio setup, then the GX680 is definitely a camera that you might want to consider. And the best part is they don't cost that much. You can get a complete kit with a lens finder and the film back for under $2,000, with most cameras averaging between $1,200 and $1,400 Canadian. But you definitely want to buy something from a trusted source and make sure it works before you buy it, because getting these things repaired is getting very difficult to do these days, mainly because they're electronic. You also have to make sure that you have a lot of spare batteries on hand. They are a bit of a battery hog. What's your experience with Fujifilms? Have you worked with the GX680 before? Leave me a comment below with your experiences. And as always, get out there, stay safe, make sure you have a chiropractor on speed dial.